Emotions are running high in Minneapolis at the annual Netroots Nation Conference for progressive bloggers and activists. The title of the marquee opening day panel says it all. What to do when the president is just not that into you. That panel was the site of a dramatic exchange between an Obama campaign volunteer and Dan Choi, who will join me in a moment. Lt.Dan Choi is an Army combat veteran who was discharged from the military for this violation of Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
I am an infantry platoon leader in the New York Army National Guard, and by saying 3 words to you today, I am gay, those 3 words are a violation of Title 10 of the U.S. Code.
That was Dan Choi on the Rachel Maddow Show. Here's what happened yesterday when the Obama volunteer came to the stage to present Choi and the other panelists with an Obama campaign flyer.
Say that I'm for marriage equality, but as a bisexual man, I'd take a bullet for both of you.
You say you're not for marriage equality?
I can't. No, no.
Dan, wait.
Okay.
Did you not understand? Here.
Okay.
I believe that I'm an equal citizen.
I understand that, but Obama hasn't officially gone on record for it.
Well, then don't try to tell me that I'm a bad person. Go tell him that he should believe in my full equality and then report back.
Civil unions?
Today, on day 2 of the conference, White House Communications Director Dan Pfeiffer participated in a Q&A session where the questions displayed the deep dissatisfaction progressives feel with the Obama administration's lack of progress on a variety of issues. Pfeiffer was grilled about what the White House is doing to get at unemployment.
You actually wrote on the White House blog that the president will be the first one to tell you that we will not rest until every American who's looking for a job can find one. Does this mean we can expect a jobs bill from the president?
Well, what you can expect is the president has put forward a number of initiatives to create jobs.
Well, with a 9.1% unemployment rate, why wouldn't we have a jobs bill?
Well, I think it is a false distinction to say we don't have a jobs bill. We have a number of proposals that create jobs that are sitting in Congress that have not been acted on yet, primarily being blocked by Republicans.
Pfeiffer was also pressed about the White House's position on women's issues, including the ban on federal funding for abortion.
The Hyde Amendment was the law of the land, and so
it's renewed every year. Right. It is not the law of the land. Right. It is renewed every year.
And if we tried to repeal it in health reform, there would be no health reform, and that was the choice. It was a very simple choice, and so you have 2 options. It's simple in the fact that you have 2 options. It's not an easy choice.
And Pfeiffer was asked about the president's position on gay marriage.
In 1996, Illinois Senate race questionnaire, Barack Obama wrote, "I favor legalizing same-sex marriages."
If you actually go back and look, that questionnaire was actually filled out by someone else, not the president. There was a long debate about this.
So it's a fake questionnaire.
So what I'll tell you is the president's position has been consistent on this.
So the president has never favored same-sex marriage.
The president's position on gay marriage, and I will say it, is that he has been against it, but he has said that the country is evolving on this, and he is evolving on it.
Joining me now from Minneapolis is Lt.Dan Choi, a gay rights activist who was discharged from the Army for violating Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, Dan.
Great to be with you, Lawrence.
Dan, I'd like you to just make your case about what it is you wish President Obama would be doing.
I want him to keep his promises. I know that there are a lot of other programs that tout a standard of how to judge a president. Many people who are his political hacks come on and say, no, he is the best president in the history of all presidents. I disagree. The standard is promises made, promises kept, promises denied, and the demand for equality. I demand that I be treated as an equal citizen for the country that I fought for and risk my life for, and I don't think it's much to demand that the president and Dan Pfeiffer come clean and stop giving bald-faced lies to patriots who filled the convention center. He knows that he was for gay marriage, for my equality, and before Dan Pfeiffer cut off the question, he actually said that he would fight any measures that would deny that kind of equality. And so I am offended. I am insulted. I feel like an abused child here. I feel like a battered wife. And so in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people that filled that room, there's good reason why Andrew Breitbart probably had a better reception than Dan Pfeiffer.
Dan, I have to ask you this point about the Obama Senate campaign questionnaire says that he's in favor of gay marriage, and then the Pfeiffer answer to that was, well, no, that was filled out by a staff person. It wasn't true. Which would you prefer to be true? That Barack Obama was once, at least once, politically in favor of gay marriage, and then had for the politics of convenience, a change of position, or what is seemingly the Pfeiffer position, oh, no. Barack Obama has always been opposed to gay marriage.
I would prefer the truth, and I don't think that in matters of the truth we have a choice. We believe that this country was founded in the rights of the people to know exactly what the truth is, and so long as anybody tells a lie, then number one, that is the violation that should get people so angry, so agitated, get them to finally demand what the baseline fundamental promise and the baseline fundamental behavior of anybody in office should be, to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Today, the president failed, and I am so disappointed. I do wish that the president finally evolve and wrestle forward, not backward, from his position in 1996, and especially in this state. When during his presidential election, we're going to see something like a Prop 8 that happened in California. I wish that he could finally stop saying God is in the mix. I wish that he can say these people are equal citizens, and if my parents were allowed to marry, then these people should be allowed to marry as well.
Dan, isn't the action now on gay marriage in the states, isn't the president somewhat irrelevant? We're here in New York State. We are one vote away from getting gay marriage legal. Shouldn't the concentration politically be on states?
The president is never irrelevant. I think the people that say the president doesn't have the power, or those people that say the president simply cannot do that because of traditions or because of our system of regulations that say the president is supposed to defend DOMA as he has done for the past 3 years, I think that's a bogus assumption about where our government must be. I think our government must be with the people who say we're fighting for marriage, yes, in New York, but for the president not to say anything about it, I think is, for whatever reason, his own kind of don't ask, don't tell about a moral issue, a civil rights issue, and one that history will judge him. Was he on the sidelines? Did he make excuses? Or was he truly there for the people? And we are going to remember that, not only in history, but in this upcoming election. I'll tell you one thing, Lawrence. If this president wants to get the volunteers that he had in 2008, I would ask him to go to the universities and ask the kids, the new first-time voters, 18 to 23, 24 years old, ask them what they think about marriage and the rights of gay people to live equally. And I think if he did come out and say, yes, I believe gay people are equal, you would have a lot of volunteers. I would be out there. But as of right now, no, I don't think that I should endorse a president that does not endorse my full personhood.
Dan, I want to take that point you made about the volunteers. Stay with us. I want to expand the conversation to include Adam Green. He's the co-founder of the Progressive Change Campaign Committee and a friend of this show, also at the Netroots Nation convention. Adam, the point that Dan just made about the energy, the enthusiasm, the recruitability of young volunteers, that seems to be possibly the most important element here for the Obama campaign, with the kind of disaffection we're seeing in Dan Choi and other progressives.
Absolutely. President Obama's ability to get those young people to vote for him and his ability to re-attract the young people he had last time. A really important thing to know about this Netroots Nation convention in beautiful Minneapolis is that it's the biggest one ever, 2,200 people, and the people who are listening to Dan Pfeiffer speak today are some of the people who worked hardest in 2008 to get this president elected, people who want him to succeed at passing the popular progressive change he campaigned on. And, Dan Pfeiffer is actually, I worked with him very closely in 2008 2002 on a Senate campaign. He's a really smart guy. Today, some of his answers seemed to be a little bit coy or an intent to not really answer the question. But, as he let down some progressives in the room on issues like, will the president cut Social Security or cut Medicare, a big realization to understand is that it's not just progressive activists to have this position. It is key young voters, it is key independent voters, and we're really looking for inspiration from this president going forward.
Adam, I was at Netroots last year in Las Vegas. I can't get there this year, unfortunately, but I know the rooms are filled with varied opinions. It's not one opinion in that room, and there are some people who have some feelings and others who have others. What is your sense about the kind of dissatisfaction, liberal and progressive dissatisfaction, that we're seeing exhibited in some of the video coming out of there and what we're hearing from Dan? How much of that represents what percentage of what's going on at Netroots?
That's a really interesting question. I probably wouldn't put a percent on it, but you're absolutely right. There are different opinions in that room. I do think that most people are unified in wanting the president to succeed at passing popular progressive change. The levels of dissatisfaction in his inability to either fight for that change or pass that change does vary. But one thing that I think is a really strong sentiment in the room is that it's not enough for the president to state a policy preference. I support the public option. I support Social Security. The president has to actually fight for it. And what we saw when he took on Paul Ryan's Medicare plan, in a rare moment where it came out in public at George Washington University and completely debunked Paul Ryan's plan, that activated the public. And it got all Democrats and all progressives totally aligned on the same side. It was absolute unity. And basically what the message of lots of people in that room is that we need this president to keep doing that on every issue, not cut these behind-the-scenes deals. And again, I think some of the answers from Dan today that were a little wishy-washy were on issues where the president is not actually engaging the public and is instead trying to cut deals with Republicans. That's a recipe for dividing his party.
The wishy-washy answers were from Dan Pfeiffer, not from Dan Choi, who is still with us. Dan Choi, I want to go back to you quickly before we go, just for one more question.
All right.
And it's not about endorsing a candidate. You said you're certainly not ready to endorse Barack Obama. I don't endorse candidates either, but I do vote. And I think it becomes pretty obvious if you listen to me who I vote for.
Sure.
If the election were held tomorrow, who would you vote for president if Barack Obama is the Democratic nominee for president, and if any one of the Republicans out there today is the Republican nominee for president?
I love that choice. What a menu. I do think that some of the Republicans are probably the worst thing to happen to this country and the gay community since AIDS and HIV. I don't think that anybody should be forced into that kind of a dilemma, and honestly, we're not. I used to say the same thing, Lawrence, in Iraq. Because we were forced to. We would ask the Iraqis, what do you think about your situation? But isn't it better than Saddam Hussein? And the Iraqis would say, look, that was 4 years ago. You're in charge now. And when you talk about a crisis, when you talk about this president getting battered from the right and from the professional left and the unprofessional left, I think we need to realize the only way you get yourself out of a crisis is to lead. And I hope this president does that. And that way we won't have to have these false choices. I choose equality. I choose the First Amendment because when I look at the Constitution, I don't read DNC, RNC, HRC, or any kind of particular group or standard of how to participate in government. I read the individual right to stand up and protest for redress of grievances. That's what I'm doing. And this president, even though he's federally charging me for protest at the White House, I do hope that he does lead.
Dan, I want you to come back to talk about those federal charges, about the protest at the White House. Adam Green, thank you for joining me tonight again. And Dan Choi, you are welcome back on this show at any time to talk about your feelings about the way this presidential campaign is going, the way the president has been dealing with your issues. And specifically, I want you to come back and talk about that protest arrest. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.